Anyone looking for purely materialist and realpolitik reasoning to explain the USA-Israel relationship will come away frustrated. Jabotinsky and Herzl at different times has openly revealed that Israel was a colonial project. The early Zionist movement did not actually mince words on the colonial aspect of this. The other part of the problem is that I think Americans and Westerners broadly are way more susceptible to the anti-Semitic framework, the anti-Semitic anti-Israel position that like Jews are doing hypnosis to Americans and shit like that, than they are to listening to a materialist analysis and this complex relationship that has created so much harm and destabilization. That shit is boring. It's lame. It's academic. It's much easier to be like, Jews are doing this and they're dominating your lives. Jews did woke culture. Jews did this. Jews did that. Americans are far more susceptible to conspiratorial thinking, partially because materialist analysis is the exact antidote to conspiratorial thinking. And yet materialist analysis has been shut out in this country. No one ever fucking thinks in this kind of way. And as a matter of fact, when you start thinking in this kind of way, or you start doing advocacy and you say, hey, this is my worldview, a lot of people turn around and say, you're a fucking demon. You're a socialist. Fuck you. You're a rich socialist, actually. You're a poor socialist. You're actually jealous of the wealthy. You're a rich socialist. You're actually hypocritical. That's really dangerous. And that's what it is. When you shut off materialist analysis and dialectical materialism, historical materialism, as a alternative form of analyzing why certain kinds of events have unfolded and why certain things happen, when you shut that off and you say that's actually scary talk, that's socialism talk, that's a real threat, then the other side that still is capable of existing within the confines of liberalism, which is, fascist thought, gets to thrive when there is a big divergence between what the population is seeing and what the population is saying and what they're demanding versus what the politicians are doing. Israel's a perfect example of this. This is something that I've warned about over and over and over again. And yet, nobody listens to my fucking warnings ever. So it is what it is. Anyone looking for purely materialist and realpolitik reasoning to explain the USA-Israel relationship will come away frustrated. Number one, this is David Grossman. I think the best place to start understanding that relationship is through looking at the first Western imperial power to control Palestine, England. A Christmas gift for the British people says so much. 100 years before President Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, British Prime Minister David Lloyd George proclaimed that the city would be a Christmas gift for the British people. Using Jerusalem as a means to impress the public, the Prime Minister insisted that a symbolic victory in Palestine would bolster morale as they fought battles on the Western Front. And in June 1917, with his sights set on defeating the Ottoman Empire, Lord George appointed General Edmund Allenby as the High Commissioner of Egypt and gave him one of the most consequential orders in modern Middle East history, to capture Jerusalem by Christmas. Christmas gift, of course, implies the religious appeal of control, but also that Palestine is a reward, likely for the high cost of World War I. Capturing Jerusalem by Christmas vaguely points towards Crusaders, the idea of a reachable and controllable past in a real physical place. Looking at the American relationship, you find something similar, placing onto Israel qualities that feel generically American: courage, tenacity, being the underdog. To quote from Nixon in 1974 as the first American president to visit, upon his arrival in Israel, Nixon said in a 15-minute ceremony at Ben Gurion Airport, "I can only say that the friendship that we have for this nation, the respect, the admiration we have for the people of this nation, their courage, their tenacity, their firmness in the face of very great odds, is one that makes us proud to stand with Israel, as we have in the past in times of trouble." Israel has been able to successfully market itself as like an American commodity, an American partner, or rather an extension of America to American society broadly. Israel has also, as Theodor Herzl, the founding father of Zionism, chose to try and market Israel as a settler colonial project to different subsects of Jews that were ideologically and theologically against the creation of the Israeli nation state for Jews. He went to different groups and advocated differently, okay? He marketed it. Israel does the same still to this day. You go to evangelical Christian circles, and you got guys like Gilad Erdan, former UN envoy, former UN ambassador to Israel, visiting Pastor John Hagee's church only a couple months after October 7, 2023, to talk to them about how you're on the side of the good here. You're actually going to basically bring back the rapture. You think anyone in Israel fucking legitimately believes that? Maybe some of the fucking Messianic Jews, but like they don't. That's not, Gilad Erdogan doesn't believe that the fucking rapture is going to happen. Okay? Theodor Herzl, founding father of Zionism, was secular. Why did he want Israel to be implemented in the biblical Israel, the biblical land for the Jews? Because he thought he could bring a lot of religious Jews on board doing that. The initial attempts were either to build it in Uganda. Some people even floated the idea of Argentina as well. Why did they build it? Where they built it? As noted perfectly in High Noon, Jews and the Cinematic Wild West, How the West Was Made. In 1958, Manischewitz Company released a 6-minute Passover record created by Harold Stern. A real honest-to-goodness Jewish cowboy from Central Texas, anticipating giggles and incredulity from his urban Jewish listeners, Stern remarks, frankly, there's nothing so unusual about being a Jewish cowboy. It was a history lesson pressed onto a novelty record, alternating between Stern's folksy monologue and musical interludes by Israeli singer/accordionist Avram Grobert. The mashup was hardly accidental. Israeli mythmakers and filmmakers recognized American Westerns as a useful symbol for their own Zionist project, reimagining the cowboy as a chalutz, pioneer, or sabra, native-born. The Western town is an agricultural community, moshav, or kibbutz, rifles as machine guns, denim jeans as khaki pants, Stetsons as temple hats, boots as sandals, and Native Americans as Arabs. The album jacket bio touts Stern's combination of the physical skills and mental aptitude, an image in line with Israel's new Jew. Israel as a new frontier in line with the American conquest of native peoples was quickly understood by those wanting to make the new country appeal to America. As Ilan Pappé notes, in The Idea of Israel, early Israeli cinema often looked directly to the Western. And remember, Jabotinsky and Herzl at different times has openly revealed that Israel was a colonial project. The early Zionist movement did not actually mince words on the colonial aspect of this. Okay? You have to remember, the idea that the progressive forces defend Israel is a relatively new phenomena in the grand scheme of things. It's a relatively new phenomena. People were just like, yeah, no, this is a colonialism. This is a settler colonial operation. Okay, Zionism is a settler colonial operation. We know it. We don't mince our words. We just say it as it is. Okay, yeah, just as Manifest Destiny, just as Lebensraum, Greater Israel as a project is colonial in its ambitions. You're saying that an imperialist, ethno-supremacist Nazi state got inspired by the U.S.? Yeah, not the first one. Yeah, I'm saying that. And I'm also saying not the first one. The OG, the one that we all know is bad, the German version of this, also was inspired by the United States of America, as you guys know, if you are students of history. Not the first one at all. Let's be fair, though. Hitler thought the American one-drop rule was too severe to apply in Germany for Jews. That's true. It's also much more difficult to apply the one-drop rule in that situation because, Ashkenazi Jews are white. I think that's more of it's just difficult to implement. For those of you who don't know, one-drop rule is at the heart of white supremacy. The notion that even if you have a single drop of the blood of a black person, you are still black. Cinema added its own dimension to the myth of annihilation and associated the Nazi ideology of human extermination with Arab intentions in 1948, as we can see in films such as Hill 24, They Were 10, and, of course, Exodus. An especially blunt version is to be found in the feature film Amut Chaesh, Pillar of Fire, in 1959, not to be confused with the television series discussed later on with a similar name. It is the story of a small southern kibbutz locked in a desperate fight against Egyptian tanks. The American Jewish director Larry Frisch staged the film as a classical Western where the cowboys have to fight the savage Indians, who do not appear in the film but are implicitly presented as targets whenever the brave Zionist soldiers shoot someone in the dark. In one scene, there are obscure images in the distance that seem to be dangerous Arabs. Zionism, as an expansion of the colonial imagination, was, of course, first noted by Jabotinsky in The Iron Wall, who I was talking about, the other founding father, I guess, aside from Theodor Herzl, which lavishes praise on the Pilgrim Fathers. The native populations, civilized or uncivilized, have always stubbornly resisted the colonialists, irrespective of whether they were civilized or savage. And it made no difference whatever Whether the colonists behaved decently or not, the companions of Cortez and Pizarro, or, as some people will remind us, our own ancestors under Joshua ben Nun, behaved like brigands. But the Pilgrim Fathers, the real first pioneers of North America, were people of the highest morality who did not want to do harm to anyone, least of all to the Red Indians. And they honestly believed that there was room enough in the prairies for both the paleface and the redskin. Yet the native population fought with the same ferocity against the good colonists as against the bad. Every native population, civilized or not, regards this land as its national home, of which it is the sole master. And it wants to retain that mastery always. It will refuse to admit not only new masters, but even new partners or collaborators. Imperialist powers saw within Palestine and Zionism a reflection of their own national mythos. They were right in a lot of ways, especially considering the tendency for these myths to cover up genocide.